Well, good morning, K-State fans. Guys, I am fired up today. It is a good time to be a Wildcat with a big-time ad in the transfer portal with Kansas State landing Nate Johnson from Akron. Someone I am stoked to talk about today, and I cannot wait to get into things here. Quick things before I jump in. Sorry about this cable. Just going to have to be here today. It is what it is. The setup's not entirely set yet. We're going through the moving process. It is what it is. Also, hit the subscribe button. It helps out immensely, and we appreciate everyone who does and those who help grow the channel as we continue through portal season and into football season this August. That said, Nate Johnson, a massive addition for Kansas State. Guys, Nate Johnson's a baller. I'll just jump in right now. I am stoked about it. I think it's a really, really good fit for Kansas State. Now, I know there's still some more spots to fill out, and I've seen people talking about, well, we got to address the front court here, and we got to do this. There's still more spots on the roster. I'm not going to worry about any of that yet. For now, I'm celebrating the good thing going for us. Nate Johnson is a dog, and I'm pumped about him coming to Kansas State. Now, I've got stats, some highlights, some 24/7 sports ranking numbers. Got a little bit of everything here. But before I do jump into those, I'm going to toss up the highlights on screen so you see those now. So Nate Johnson, a big-time player in the portal, hopped in the portal on Thursday, and he's committed by Sunday. That is a quick process. Now, Kansas State appeared to be the front runner early on and stayed right there with him. Kansas, Indiana, I believe Kentucky, all three were all heavily interested in the kid and trying to persuade him away from Kansas State. That said, Nate Johnson knew where he was going, comes to Kansas State, a big-time deal for the Cats. A 6'3", 204-pound junior out of Liberty Township, Ohio, comes to Kansas State after bringing Akron to the NCAA tournament in game-winning fashion in the MAC tournament. We'll talk about all that and more. But this past season, he averaged 14 points per game, 4.9 rebounds per game, 3.4 assists per contest on 43.9% shooting from the field. Wasn't an incredible three-point shooter. That's a spot of his game that'll have to take a step forward. Shot 30.1% from three, but also that's not my biggest concern. You've got a guy like Abdi Bashir that's going to get the bulk of shots going up, especially from three, but it's going to be a good fit because you're going to need some defense in the backcourt, and I'm excited about that. Also shot 80.3% from the free throw line and got there a fair bit, about 4 times per game. So a guy that can get to the free throw line and hit some shots, I am excited about this kid's upside. Now, he's not one that I'm going to look at and say if he hits or if this works out, if this works out. This is a dude whose floor is incredibly high. In the past, you've had ads like Doug McDaniel where they have a really, really high ceiling, but the floor was also really, really low. This isn't one I'd consider a Doug McDaniel ad. This is a guy that I feel really confident about. Okay, he's going to hit the ground running as a key piece for Kansas State. Now, that's not to put any pressure on the kid. I'm just judging him based off what he's already shown in his 3-year career. He's been a stud. He's done some great things. And let me jump in a little bit further. The accolades this past season. The kid won 1,000 different things this past season for Akron. He was the MAC Player of the Year, the MAC Defensive Player of the Year. He was first team All-MAC, All-MAC Defensive Team. He also won MVP of the MAC tournament. Like I said, game-winning fashion, hits the shot late to send them to the NCAA tournament, an awesome thing, and finished the year off at 28-6 at the time, then finishes 28-7 with the loss to Arizona, but still a close contest in the NCAA tournament against a talented team. Over his last 3 seasons, he's played 92 games, he started 58 of them, and finished with an overall record of 74-29. That's a big deal. The kid is a proven winner. That is really, really cool to see. And I think to take it one step further, talking about the 24/7 sports numbers, you can judge things off portal rankings. You could also not. There's a great player like Max Jones who was like 350th in the country, and then you get a guy that could be hit or miss like a Doug McDaniel. Not to just throw Doug under the bus, but you get guys that are absolutely what are advertised, and then you get guys that are significantly underrated. So you can take this with a grain of salt. But this ad is on pace with some of the guard ads we've had in years past, but one of the better ones in the Jerome Tang era, especially from a fit basis. Now, looking at this. If you want to take maybe the top 4 ads that I've seen over the past couple of years, Keontae wasn't ranked nearly as high because of his medical situation, and that was the first year, so doesn't quite crack the list of top 4 portal ads at this point. Keontae was just inside the top 100. I think he was like the 92nd best player in the portal available. Obviously, if you redid that, that's an awful ranking. But for Kansas State specifically, you've had guys like Coleman Hawkins, guys like Arthur Kaluma. It's not on pace with those ads in terms of a 24/7 sports rankings. Obviously, Art was the 19th best player in the portal when he committed to Kansas State, Coleman being the 21st best. But you look at Doug and Tyler Perry. These are 2 guys that you'd put on par with Nate Johnson. That said, very different players, very different fit. Doug McDaniel was ranked 53rd coming out of Michigan, Tyler Perry at 59th. Nate Johnson, he's ranked at 52nd on 3 and 58th on 24/7. So a guy that's on that par of like, okay, you know he's at least this production level in terms of what national media seems to believe about the kid. That said, I don't look at this as more of a Doug McDaniel ad. You look at it as a Tyler Perry plus ad. I'm not going to sit here and try to play the comparison game of who's better, what the case is, but Tyler Perry is a pretty damn good player at Kansas State. I think he's one that's gotten a ton of different disrespect and backlash. The dude's a great player, and he's one that should be appreciated for Kansas State fans. Even if he didn't make the tournament that year, the kid had a really good season for Kansas State. Nate Johnson is one where you know, okay, this is going to be one of our pieces. This is going to be one of our guys. And with Doug, you knew he was going to be one of your guys. You just didn't didn't know which version of Doug you're going to get. Nate Johnson, it's all ball, no BS. It's defend your ass off. It's go out there and compete every single day. Try to get to the rim, put pressure on the rim, and make life hell for other opposing guards. That's kind of what the guy's game is. And averaging 14, I know guys are going to point at the three-point line and say, well, he's got to improve here. I do think he could get there. Obviously, Coach saying is a lot of guys shoot a lot. I mean, you heard it from a lot of different people saying, like, okay, Coleman's got to shoot more. Art's got to shoot more. Obviously, this is a different position, but guys that aren't, what college basketball would dub as elite three-point shooters, Coach Tang's pushing them to shoot a little bit more because he sees there's stuff in there. If Nate Johnson can jump to 35% from three, that'd be a massive deal and would sizably impact his game. That said, it is a jump in competition. I won't lie about that. But this ad is one that I feel really good about. This feels more to me, and take this at face value, it feels more like a Max Jones in terms of the fit. Like the guy is ready to play for Kansas State. This is a guy that you want on the basketball court. Super quick break. If you're watching this video and you're not subscribed, 63% of the people watching this video right now are currently not subscribed to the YouTube channel, and feel free absolutely to ignore this and skip this, whatever the case is. But those of you that are watching right now and are unsubscribed, be sure and consider hitting that subscribe button if you love Kansas State, if you appreciate the channel. It's a great way to support me as I continue to grow on this journey, and it's also incredible to bring more K-State fans in like yourself on a consistent basis to see more of my K-State content. Once again, if you're in that 63% or if you're in the alternative in the 37%, I love and appreciate you. Back to the Cats. It's not one where you question it and say, if this piece works here and this and that. Like, I feel really good about Nate Johnson being a solid player for Kansas State off the rip. Maybe it'll take him some time to get up to speed. We saw that with Tyler Perry coming from a lower conference as well. You understand that happens with guys, but Nate Johnson being 6'3" already. The height deal is one that's big for me. I'm not going to say because a player's tall makes him good. I won't say that. You've seen examples of that in the past. What I will say is this. Coach Tang always gets really good defense out of his teams. Last season was probably the worst. I don't know if the Ken Palm numbers agree with that or Bart Torvik, whatever the metrics you want to use are, but it felt like that was the worst defensive backcourt you've seen. Now, even then, defense wasn't your issue last season. I mean, obviously, rebounding, scoring on offense, consistency, those were probably more of your issues that you would highlight. The defense was solid, even though you had a bad backcourt of defensive, like non-defensive players. Doug McDaniel, not a defender. Brendan Hawson, certainly not a defender. These guys are kind of, they're on the outside looking in when it comes to defense. Nate Johnson is not that. This is a big deal. You go from 3 straight years of having guys below 6 foot at the lead guard spot, and maybe this isn't your lead guard ad. Like, I know people see him as a combo guard or a shooting guard. Yeah, that's true, but I think his assist numbers speak to, okay, he can be a good facilitator, but I'm also not hitting the panic button saying, okay, he's our primary guard, we can't have another guard. Like, I assume they're going to add another guard. You have more spots in the roster. We'll see what happens in that front. What I do like about Nate Johnson, you go from guys like Tyler Perry, guys like Marquise Noel, who was a pit bull. Keese did not get back down. He was physical, even though he was shorter, but there were some lapses just because of his size. Then Doug McDaniel, similar thing, but obviously Doug wasn't as much of a pit bull or a force in the low block, just didn't have the desire. Nate Johnson is going to absolutely turn the tides in terms of defensive effort from this team. Depending on how this last few roster spots go, this could probably be a top defensive team for Jerome Tang. I feel good about where we're at there, but we'll see what happens there. The last thing I want to say watching his game, and this is going to sound like a kind of an advantageous comparison because the kid was damn near an All-American this past season, so hear me out. I'm not trying to put him in that category. That's a lot of pressure to place on the kid. But when I watch his game, he has a very similar pace to Javon Small from West Virginia. I'm not sitting here to say he's the same player. Javon Small shot 40% from 3, averaged, 25 and 5. One of the best players in the country, was snubbed as an All-American. Really, really good player. I'm not trying to say that they're 1-1 off the rip, but their pace is the same. Like, Nate Johnson doesn't get sped up the same way Javon Small doesn't get sped up. It takes a lot to ruffle these guys' feathers, and it felt like you see that in highlights. It feels like you see that when you watch game film. He dictates the pace of this game, especially at Akron last season. I hope the same follows suit for Kansas State. But for now, this is an awesome ad. I'm really, really excited to see what happens, and I think it gives you some more momentum. You at least feel good about the backcourt you have right now. Abdi Bashir could be a really, really good fit alongside Nate Johnson because you have a guy that's going to light it up from 3 and shoot a lot of shots. I know his usage will back off a little bit, but you've got a guy that's going to defend his tail off. You've got Abdi Bashir, and we'll see what the rest of the roster looks like, but I feel good about this ad, and you should too. That'll do it for today's video, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Go Cats!